Hello everyone, Manithral here, and welcome to the RS3 TL for the stream that happened today. So today was a Q&A. They took questions from the community, and some of these dated all the way back into like May of this year and stuff like that. So I did take down some notes. Some of these questions we didn't get answers for, but we did get some answers. But first up, before we even really get into the Q&A, they did announce something during the stream as far as the Prime Aura goes. That actually won't be active until at least mid-October. There was a hiccup with that. That's not set in stone, but it is looking to be available sometime mid-October. Now we get into the questions. So first up, we have the Dead Click in Elder God Wars. This is a known issue, and part of the big problem is there's a lot of old systems in place, and this kind of goes into the next thing too with bug fixes. There's a bunch of different types of bugs, and there's a bunch of different issues with the old systems versus the new. So they are looking to not only fix those issues, but then they're also updating their systems too. So they are working on fixing the issue, but long-term goal, they want to fix all the systems. So it's just like, it's kind of staged right now. And as far as bugs go and issues like that, they're looking at more and more ways to handle bugs sooner and more efficiently. They're even talking about maybe have a bug fixing team. Nothing is quite set in stone yet. They're actually highlighting ideas for it. Duel Arena. So, it has been known that OSRS is removing how the Duel Arena works, at least, or just completely from the game. They are looking to implement some short-term changes with the Duel Arena, and there is going to be a long-term change coming. Eventually, a permanent solution. However, the short-term changes, they're going to be coming way before, and even more close to the time, there's going to be a long-term blog coming with potentially the list of all the short-term changes and the long-term, potential long-term changes, I should say. The death cost system. So, they understand that PVMing can be kind of punishing, especially when things are set upon GE values and not the actual item value. So they are looking and discussing changing that and making it more fair, not just the GE price. So it is in discussion. Player avatar refresh. That was actually on hold due to Elder God Wars Dungeon. And some other things like that, but it is potential beta servers are going to be soon. They want to have potential beta servers pop up so people can test out like different things as they stand. But as it gets more and more finalized, they will roll out new more and more features into the beta, and eventually the whole thing will actually be released. So they do want to do that probably right after the Elder God Wars is done. I'm going to guess that's when they're going to start get the ball rolling on that again. But there is more to discuss with betas and stuff here. MTX increases with the at least the bundles. So what they are doing is they understand that there is being a little bit more of an MTX increase. It's not so much just of an increase, it's more that they're talking about it more because they're trying to give people more of a feedback. Respond more to player feedback by changing things up and releasing different ways of these kind of things, such as bundles. So they're exploring their options based on player feedback. So this is based on player feedback. Portable skilling stations. So they are actually looking into taking those from MTX and releasing them into the game as well, just like they did with Magic No Paper and stuff like that. They do want to make that something that is unlockable, so do expect that to be, within the near future. Overloads and skilling bundles. So they did get a very highly negative reaction to overloads being in it. So based on player feedback, it is currently looked to be as not having that in bundles. So stuff like that probably won't be in bundles anymore. Next thing is increasing melee damage / worth. There's no current projection for that, mostly because and this actually goes into something down below with the combat triangle balances, balance damage, and it kind of goes into the factor of each skill kind of gets stuff and it kind of keeps climbing. So once one skill gets released, well then one's kind of a little bit inferior, but they're constantly working on it, so they're constantly doing more and more with each one. And it's just one of those kind of things that it's kind of to be expected. They do have different like niches that each combat part of the triangle kind of hits, but you know, right now, as they release more and more stuff, that's just how it's going to happen. So unfortunate for some, but it's not too bad if you use it during the right weaknesses. Virago hard mode, titles and stuff like that. So currently Virago Duo hard mode and titles. So currently there is nothing really being in the works for Virago. They will probably do some stuff later on, but it's kind of on the low list of the priorities as far as everything that's going on currently. And then they have, with Surge and Provoke being off global cooldown, what about Freedom and Anticipation? They did say Anticipation, it's part of the title of the ability, Anticipate. You got to use that at a time thing. However, Freedom is a potential one that they might be taking off the global cooldown, so that's a little bit easier to use. So they are going to talk about that with the combat console. The combat triangle balance damage, we just discussed that. You know, it's never going to be 100% that all will do the same amount of damage, because as one, it probably will eventually when the skill, like when everything has a level 99 strength damage type, you know, that's when things will be more even across the board. But until then, that's basically the gist of that. What's next after the final EGW front, so Elder God Wars Dungeon front? They didn't say anything particular, but they did say that there's something very exciting for 2022, and it was also brought up about environmental reworks. The environmental reworks will be happening as time goes on, but that is something they use to target, like, specifically for quests or surrounding areas of quests, or surrounding areas of events and stuff like that. They kind of implement them as they go. So it's something to kind of keep in mind. But they didn't give an exact, what's next type thing. Discussing future updates. So they are looking to actually talk more about updates in the future. But first, they want to get a system down in place where they can actually talk about an update and be able to deliver that update. They don't want to make false promises like they had done in the past, so they're looking to make sure that works as good as possible. And they kind of want to have things go to at least a little bit of normalcy as far as the teams go for, you know, the employees. As things get easier and easier, there's starting to be more and more office work back at the main HQ, so that's making things a little easier. And then we have Essence of Finality with Legacy and Legacy Improvements. So this one's going to probably make some people mad, but they did go over their studies of that. The Legacy is very rarely used. It's very scarcely used within RS3, and they want to leave Legacy there for people who are unfamiliar with maybe EOC. But it's not going to receive a large amount of attention, and combat kind of complex things like this Essence of Finality with the Legacy and how it works, they said it's going to be a very challenging and hard thing to do. So don't expect it anytime soon, if at all. It's how it's going to be for Legacy. Legacy's probably not going to be changing much at all. As is, if it keeps dropping the way it is with players using it, I personally, they didn't say this, but personally, I would say don't expect it to stay in game if it keeps dropping with the player base. So 2 ring slots. This is something I've seen discussed a lot on the discussions. It is something they would like to do, but they're not sure how about they want to go about doing this, because, you know, you have certain rings that would make it, well, OP. So they don't want to have things getting too strong, too powerful. They don't want to take away from stuff. They don't want to add too much to stuff. So they're looking at how to balance it and how they would want to release it. But it would be something that would be a potential unlock in some form or fashion. So it is something that is kind of being discussed, but it needs balancing as to how. Personally, I already know how they could do that. All they would have to do is that if you equip one ring, like for instance, Ring of Death, if you have that equipped, you can't equip a second Ring of Death. Simple as that. It'll say that you already have one equipped. And that would be the best way to do it, is if you equip one, you can't equip a second one. Just like if you were to equip 2 Hazelmere Signets. I don't know if that should have like a lockout, but like that would be how it is. Like if certain particular ones, if they have a certain special effect, you could only equip one, especially if that like that. If it's something that has like a probability of proccing, maybe you could have both, but it's something that they're going to be discussing. Transparency issues outside of Reddit and Twitter. So this has been a big thing. I see it a lot on Facebook, Twitter, in-game RuneScape, you name it. There's a lot of people who get frustrated trying to contact Jagex, and you know, whether it be through account security, stuff like that, trying to submit stuff, anything possible of trying to get some transparency or getting in touch with them. They're working on getting that to be more broad and easier to get in touch with them, especially, well, just in general. And Jagex, if you want somebody to do it, I would gladly do this. I would gladly be somebody who would do that job. Get in touch with it and help everybody out. I would love that. I don't know about you guys. I would love that. More skilling bosses. Yes, they do want to do them more and more ever since Croasis, our buddy here in green. They do want to do more. They want to do low end, high end. They want to do a bunch of different more. And they're maybe have hinted at one in the near future, so keep that in mind. New skill, they said, is on the table. They really seemed like Mott Osborne, he really wanted to talk about it, but he did not. He kind of kept his mouth shut. So they do want to have a new one. Me personally, I would love to see a new elite skill, but they can't announce anything, basically. The font change and why. So for those who are familiar, there's actually different fonts that are actually harder to read if you have some vision issues. So they went with a more a better font that is easier to read across the board, and they also went with a font that you can actually adjust the sizes easier, and it's still just as visible in different sizes. So that's what they're going for with that. Max cash stacks, any plans of changes like that. So they are looking into maybe adding to it or something like that. Because obviously if people get max cash stacks, they don't want to just have max cash stacks constantly. So they are looking at maybe adding to the currency types. or once you hit max cash, you go into like a different form. One of those kind of things. So odds are, majority of players, we won't have to worry about that. Holiday events. They are planning on holiday events. Halloween is coming up here pretty soon. But they did, Mod Mike actually said something, that there is something very special at the end of 2021. Did not say what. But he said it's very, very special and very exciting. And then we have the God Wars Dungeon 3 drop rates. This will probably be released. It's something they don't technically really hide. It probably will be released. It's just they want to wait until everything is done, and it's not quite new and fresh. They want to have a little bit mysterious or mystery to it. But that's actually the main hot points for today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, later guys.